Right, so we're gonna get started with the policy committee meeting. So, for the 6,000, this is for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6,000, 6110, 6240, 6240 in reg, 6,700 and 6,741. There were suggestions made by Megan at the meeting on the 19th. And those suggestions are in our packet. Behind there are the suggestions in red. And so the first one has the front one, the second one has suggestions from Megan. So I know Mr. Snyder has looked at them along with Dr. Talbot this afternoon, because they were emailed to us this morning. And what we'll do from this point, if it's okay, we'll send the suggested comments over to legal and see if there's any input from them.
Sure, so yeah, these are pretty much exactly as I read them on
Right.
Wednesday. And I had noted Juan's 2 comments.
Right,
So those are in there.
yes.
That, but I didn't know if he had others besides that. Those were the 2 that I noted.
He just had 2.
He just had 2. Yeah.
On the fiscal management,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
Yeah, okay, that's what I had to. So,
So we'll send them over to legal for review,
okay,
and then we'll see what they send back to us. And then, and then from that point, once it comes back, if it requires more of a discussion, then we'll have to put it to the next policy committee meeting. If not, then we just put it on as a second reading to the board with the recommended changes from the advice from council.
right, because we don't have a December meeting.
No, so it'll be in January. So it'll be nice if legal brings it back to us, and we can review them. And then if there's nothing really significant, we can bring it to the meeting and say, these are recommended changes from the 19th.
Sure.
And legal has reviewed, Snyder has reviewed, Dr. Talbot has reviewed, and this is what we're recommending to the board.
Sounds good.
All right, so we're gonna go to 2342, which is the agenda preparation and dissemination. So the top one with the yellow, if I recall correctly, these were recommended changes that you have provided, Megan, which was the removal. In the second paragraph, items of business may be suggested by a board member. This is a current policy, district employee, parent, student, or other members of the public, and must relate directly to district business. The inclusion of items suggested by district employees, parents, students, or other members of the public shall be at the discretion of the superintendent, subject to the approval of the board president. So your recommendation was to strike everything out and said items of the business may be suggested by any board member. Right. So I think that was one, and then the other one was in paragraph 2, persons suggesting items of business must submit the item to the superintendent at least 14 days prior to a regular meeting and 1 week prior to a special meeting. Items will not be added to the agenda later than these time periods unless the item is of an emergency nature and authorized by the superintendent in consulting with the board president. So the recommendation was to strike that entire paragraph. For me, for the second paragraph, I'm only thing that I would say, I'm okay with leaving in that language. That way it allows employees, parents, and others to, make a suggestion. And then, but also, I think we need to leave shall be at the items of business made suggested by any board member. If we want to take the other part out, shall be at the discretion of the superintendent, subject to approval of the board president. So I think my opinion is to leave that in as well as the second paragraph. Megan gave her recommendation. If there's no good suggestion on it, we'll send it to the board and see if they wanna keep the recommendations, if they wanna remove them.
Well, shouldn't we just try to come to a consensus here? They'll make it easier to present one option to the board.
For me personally, for the second paragraph, item of business may be suggested by any board member. I think we should leave the whole paragraph because it allows for any person, if they want to submit something.
Well, how do we, so maybe in that regard, I'm hearing you and I'm open to community input. But how are they making a suggestion?
It's submitted to the superintendent, and then as it's being reviewed in the junior review with the board president, and typically what happens, we have the first and second vice presidents there. And then they could weigh in as well, but according to the policy, it's at the approval of the superintendent along with the it's approval of the superintendent board and the board president.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is like maybe we can expanded
And just
To
give it
say-
guidelines to-
to identify how to do it.
Or how to submit something?
Yeah.
So that's more of a reg than it's for the policy, so we'd have to develop a reg to submit something.
Has anybody like in your tenure ever submitted, because I know you've been on the board.
No,
for-
in my
Yeah.
timeframe, they never have submitted.
So. Do they know that this is even open to them? So if we're gonna leave it.
So it's one of two things. I'm okay if it says item of business may be suggested by any board member. But I wanna leave, shall be at the discretion of the superintendent and subject to approval of the board president. Whoever that board president may be. If you wanna take out the other parts, I'm fine with that.
Working with Elizabeth's sample policy
okay, that's a
from
good thing.
2021, and they have that items of business may be suggested. All that language is in
This
there.
whole paragraph is the same business, so.
Items of business may be suggested by any board member, district employee, parent, student, or other member of the public and must relate directly to district business. The inclusion of items suggested by district employees, parents, students, or other members of the public is at the discretion of the superintendent, subject to the approval of the board president. So that seems to be word for word. Then the following paragraph is there, they just,
So we're too.
it's
You did
just
insert it.
insert number of days.
Yeah.
It just says in a certain number. of-
No, it's
Like-
like insert the number of days.
Oh, it says you choose.
Yeah, just so like we choose.
I think what's important is for, the only reason I say the 14 days prior, is because I know internally they have so many days prior to the board meeting. To submit their stuff for the agenda. We get our entire agenda the Friday before. And let's say, for example, it could be a Friday before the work session, and if there's a board meeting, then it's almost. Close, almost 2 weeks before, 10 days before, yeah. Right, so,
So, okay, I'm sorry.
no, so I'm just saying, so the 14 days will allow for ample
I'm cool
time.
with the
Yeah.
14 days,
Yeah.
I honestly don't remember striking those two full paragraphs in full, so.
Okay.
But reading it again, I'm reading it again and I'm going. Like, is there a reason why an item of business suggested by a board member would be subject to approval? And can we break that out separately? Like, why can't a board member bring an item for the agenda that it not be subject to approval by the board president? And I say this obviously in, wanting to bring more action to meetings that if in the minority of the board, it can then be just shut down if you're a minority board member. Whereas, it would be better if we were more open to any idea of any board member to take action.
Just when it's related to the,
It's
to digital
district
districts,
business.
yeah.
So
I
from
don't
what I'm understanding, like the sentence, the second sentence in that paragraph, inclusion of items suggested by district employees, parents, students, or other members of the public. It doesn't say that the board members' suggestions.
Okay, so it is, I guess, differentiated. Okay, so the board member suggestions are taken. But
Yeah.
everyone else's suggestions on the agenda would be subject to approval by the superintendent. And we don't want to expand on this to tell the public how to submit.
Do we have to develop, we can have to develop, a
We
regulation.
wanna do,
We can develop a regulation and put that for the meeting for January. Okay, because it's gonna take some
I mean,
time.
I would say leave it in here, and. It's just saying that
Yeah.
we typically don't get suggestions, but if we leave it in here, that at least gives the public the opportunity to even see if they have it as an option.
but if there would, agreed, I'm fine with leaving it in, like I said, I know it must have been the October. Or the September meeting even, cause I missed the October meeting. But maybe the policy committee would like to consider a regulation, maybe,
Okay, so
Because,
it's a recommendation.
Fine,
is it going to Anne Marie?
yeah,
Is
No.
it going to Dr. Talbot directly
For a regulation meeting?
for the public's recommendation for an agenda item?
It would go probably directly to, we can do that with the regulation, so I'm not too.
Right, that's what I'm,
Yeah,
right,
so
So that has
so
to
we
be
can
worked out.
establish where to send this.
Right, exactly, so that has to be worked out with the regulation.
So in the past, when I've gotten requests, they come directly to the superintendent of schools.
Okay,
If there's an employee who has an agenda item they would like considered, it usually comes straight to the superintendent of schools.
okay,
There have been items that have been added from the community in the past, as well as employees who approach us about certain businesses that we've added to the agenda.
so you get the requests directly to you, and then you convey to Lisa that it was,
Well, we have a board agenda review.
I did those last year.
Mhm.
Okay, and I never knew that there was action added by a community member or a employee. Or
When you say
suggested.
action added by, we oftentimes meet with union representatives,
Okay.
executive council of unions. There are items that come up. Our cabinet, we work through resolutions. Oftentimes you may get a side letter that may come out of a request from the employee union. There may be something personnel related on the agenda that may come out of us finding a resolution to a personnel issue. I don't necessarily say
Yeah.
this is an item that was presented by, or sometimes I will say this is an item presented by. So that's just an example of how we often get items that end up on the agenda.
Oh, I'm just reading this more as like if somebody just has a thought or an inquiry and it's not coming out of another meeting that you're having, like just, or any employee or any parent that wants to reach out and say, hey, you know, I'd really like to see the Board of Education consider this. Like, has that ever happened?
For me, not that I remember.
That's how I'm reading this as a potential, that it's open.
Right, so we can work on the regulation.
Okay.
All right, so right now, is the consensus to leave the language in for both the yellow paragraphs, is that the consensus?
That's
Yeah.
what I would like to do.
Yeah,
All right, so we'll do a regulation for that.
Okay.
All right, so we're gonna go to 2360, the minutes. So. One of the suggested changes. And I think. That could have been, like June, as a maybe from Wednesday. So I'm looking at three. One I think was from a June policy committee meeting where there was just one board member. I think the next one, 2360, is a current policy. And then 2360 behind that is the one from NISBA.
No, I get serious.
I think that's sort of three, yeah. I think, in the NISBA policy. It says the blank. And we have the district clerk. Shall be responsible for taking the minutes and will present the draft minutes to the board president within. And we can assert the number of days of the meeting. And I'm okay if it says board president or designee. Because if the board president doesn't want to do it, then the board president can designate another board member to do that. I think that our current policy says within 1 day of the meeting. I think that, I think we need to expand that just a little bit. Because listening to the audio and everything like that. May take just a little bit longer. Says within
So
one.
you're looking at the
I'm
NISBA.
looking at the last NISBA one.
The NISBA is essentially ours too, right?
Right, but
I
for-
haven't seen any difference.
So for hours, for example, ours says that, within 1 day of the meeting. I think that we should expand that. Cause if our meeting is on a Wednesday. There's an after meeting that they have together just to go make sure everything had, make the cabinet and the district clerk goes over different things. On it the day after, and it allows the district clerk at least. I say we should say at least. Within 5 days of the meeting.
To present the draft
Yeah,
minutes.
shall present the draft minutes to the board president or designate within 5 days of the meeting.
So if the district clerk is part-time,
That's
the
other
meeting
meeting
is on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Clarification happens Thursday.
She's
That
not in
leaves
on
her
Friday. She's
Friday,
not in on Friday.
Saturday, Sunday. I don't know if you're saying calendar days or work days. Hmm.
I would say within 5 work days. Yes, not calendar days.
Does that would account for a full-time or part-time person then?
Right. Within 5 work days, because in that way she's, because if she does Monday for, when there's a school board meeting, she'll do Monday, Wednesday. And she comes in on Thursday, but she doesn't do Friday.
But
So the problem is that if we say within 1 day, they're not gonna be done within 1 day of the meeting. So we say within 5 calendar days, or five work days. Right. 5 work
but
days.
then I
That's
feel like
Friday,
that
Monday,
kind of
Tuesday.
opens this up, like. Say. The district clerk calls out sick 2 of those days. That they would have normally been there. Does that count towards that tally?
I didn't think about that.
So,
Well, it's better than 1 day.
Right.
No, I know, I'm just trying to think of the
So-
possibilities of
yeah,
trying to
Here's a
not create a
clarifying
policy that's gonna
question.
throw us out of
the,
compliance.
video can serve as the draft minutes, right? Because it goes up the very next day. So we do have a response in terms of posting the very next day, which has been happening, Anne Marie, to my knowledge, right?
Yeah, they've been very.
Yes, and then
Right, and then in 2 weeks, we have to post the time frame is 2 weeks, we post the final minutes, not the final minutes, but the written draft minutes up, right? So could we give a range in maybe in 7 to 10 work days? That the minutes will be submitted to,
The board
Which is
president or the
amazing.
designee.
yes. I don't know.
So I think,
Marie,
I think for me, what, and I've said it before,
Mhm.
previous years when I was on the board, that, when I served in the role of like the second vice president, that was one of my responsibilities, was to look at the minutes, and it allowed me to really kind of look at it. So I think it's good for other board members to learn how to review the minutes. So I think that's why, I think it says board president and designee, but just go to one person. And then one person reviews it, and then it allows the district clerk to do what they need to do. So I'm fine with that. And if someone else wants to take it over, I have no problems with that.
Which one, so are we marking up the NISBA one right now? So I think, is that what you're doing?
I'm not marking up anything there.
Okay, I feel like I'm working off the NISBA version right now.
so it's compared
How
with,
is-
So we're doing, so you're doing our existing one?
our existing matches, the
The
NISBA.
one.
Except for the last 2 sentences, right? Because they have. The minutes of any meeting involving video conferencing under extraordinary circumstances will include which board members participated remotely. So that was a new sentence that we didn't have.
Right,
And
I
then we
think
had the
that one is-
unauthorized video, or audio recordings, or unauthorized written transcripts can be used as minutes and made available to the public. I would just say within 24 hours, because the first version of this
yeah,
talks about within 24 hours, and then I think we have. Everything from the 3, but I'm reading them all right now.
I think, this is just my opinion. The first one, I think we need to put aside.
Okay.
The second, I think we should just go with this,
address.
I think we should go through, we just go with the NISBA.
Okay, that's what I was
Let's stay
thinking
with the
too.
NISBA.
Okay.
All right, that makes it easier. All right. So,
Okay.
and we'll be open to the public and who's that?
So then you're saying within 5 work days of the meeting. You wanted to say to the board president or designee, that's what you're saying?
Yes,
Right, so you're saying or designee. Within 5 working days of the meeting. That would be so.
we're gonna say 5 or 7.
I'm gonna say 5 to 7. Anne Marie, does that work for you?
Yeah, that's,
I mean, I know it will vary from person to person, but
That's nice, will be. Yeah.
Within 5 to 7 work days. So before we go to any other paragraph, let's go back up.
Okay.
The minutes will constitute official record proceedings of the board and will be open to public inspection within 1 week of executive session, within 2 weeks of all other meetings. Okay.
Well,
Wait,
no,
where
we
are
can't
you?
do that then.
No.
We're doing,
second paragraph?
Yeah, on the,
oh, I guess we can do that for like the special meeting we just held, that would be very easy to turn out the minutes.
right, because if
Yeah,
it's a special
yeah.
meeting,
So you'd be getting it post.
because it
for
says,
1 week from executive.
it says within
session.
1 week of executive sessions and within 2 weeks of all other meetings.
Mhm.
Must uphold the following, the district maintains a regularly updates the website using high-speed connections. Okay, so minutes will constitute the official records proceeding of the board and will be open to the public inspection and posted on the district's website. So the other black portion there comes out within 1 week of executive sessions and within 2 weeks of all other meetings.
We
And
don't
what-
really post minutes like executive session. So that's,
It's just a matter of going, just saying that we opened up.
but I feel like I was looking at open meetings law recently, and
Executive
I think
session.
you actually can identify if there's. I can try to find it right now, I don't wanna misspeak.
No, but I think the only thing that we're allowed to say that the reason that we went into executive session, that's it. That's it, we can't say what we discussed in executive session.
like, how does it work between the 5 and 7 days and the 1 week?
It says within
That's
1 week,
right.
it says what, within 1 week of
1 week
executive,
is just
executive session,
Okay.
and within 2 weeks of all other meetings.
And it's coming out of the NISBA policy, so now I'm feeling like we're not doing something with the executive session.
But we are, because like, for example, whenever we go into executive session,
Mhm.
that's the part that we're
You're
posting.
just like noting like who's there and what times
Yes.
come in and out.
Mhm. I wonder if it should be executive session or special session, special meetings. And not executive, because executive
Mhm.
session,
Right,
I see what you're saying, because,
right,
so.
but like tonight, we had a special session and you could produce minutes very quickly.
Right, so maybe we'll just kind of highlight it and ask, can we change that to special session? Instead of executive, we'll see what they say. Let's maybe make it special, because we had, it's a special meeting that's being called. And typically special meetings is something very short that we have to address, go in, address it and come back out again.
Yeah.
So let's find out if we can just change it to special sessions. All right, so I'm just gonna go back. The minutes will constitute official record proceedings. Posted on the district website within 1 week of a special session, that's what we're gonna recommend, and within 2 weeks of all other meetings. And then, we'll take into percentage reference of board president or designee within 5 to 7 work days. And other than that, everything else will remain the same. Unbridged audio recordings can be used as minutes and made available to the public. Do we want to say within 24 hours or within 24?
We've been doing it within 24 hours, right, the videos go up?
Who actually posts the videos?
Pete, yeah. So do you want to just say? And then available to the public within.
24 hours.
Okay. Any other suggestions for this policy?
We said 5 to 7 workdays, right?
Yes. All right, so to summarize, and we're gonna go back and say within 1 week of the special sessions,
Mhm.
5 to 7 work days. The board president or designee. And on the back page, unabridged video recordings or unabridged written transcripts can be used as minutes and made available to the public. Within 24 hours,
Yes.
or 24 hours after
Of
the
the meeting.
24 hours after the meeting.
The sentence before that, the bottom of the first page, it's new. Posting, did you say that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and we do that already.
Yeah, it's just not in order.
No, and that's why, what is brought to my attention, that's why I said, let's get rid of, I was a big company. All right, I'm gonna move on to 4321 programs for students with disabilities. Dr. Child, I think that is.
Yeah. That's under the IDEA in New York's educational law, Article 89, receiving.
So the changes that were recommended by Gercio, I did review with Ms. Lopez and with Ms. Yock. And on that first page, we added the first underlined sentence that begins with "in such cases" to provide clarity about the regulations for non-public students. So instead of IEPs, we would create these IESPs, Educational Service Plans, which would provide recommendations and guidelines for the non-public. So they're a little different than an IEP. Because that highlighted sentence that begins with "however" doesn't describe what happens in every situation. Ms. Yock felt that it was too absolute and that we should delete that sentence, so she's recommending deleting the sentence that begins with "however." And then the sentence that follows that, beginning with "non-public students." The only change is just removing the words "individualized education service program" because it was added above, and leaving the acronym IESP in that sentence.
So what's,
So the first underlined sentence was the
Instead of-
clarity, providing
Yeah.
clarity.
I got that one.
Instead of putting all the words, just do.
Oh, okay.
But because we added that one in the beginning for
Understood.
clarity, then we just need the
Sure.
acronym for the third one, and in the middle. Recommending deleting that whole highlighted section because it speaks in absolutes and it's not the way it works every time. It's not true for every case.
Okay,
okay,
okay. So I'm okay with deleting that. Before as the committee.
yeah, I'm fine,
Okay, so we deleting that sentence.
and this has to go back to legal, then, right?
These were their recommendations, so we
Okay.
agree with them. That's
Right, so these are recommendations from legal, okay. Okay, so what's the next one on the second page? Oh,
so there are a number of just minor edits that appear on the next page. The first one refers to, it used to be students were entitled to education until they turned 21 or finished that year. But now it's really right up until their 22nd birthday. So they can go to school right up until that birthday. So that corrects that in that first part. I did check in with her because in the numbered section, number 1 and number 9 are identical. So that was an error, and we can just eliminate number 9 from that.
Okay, yeah.
And then again, number 3, just providing clarity about the responsibilities and a little bit about what the next steps are when someone is making a request for an evaluation.
thanks, great.
On page 3, the underlined section was added to ensure that the district is notifying parents of their rights. So that's just an addition of the sentence there.
Is there, I'm sorry, is there a time frame for that notification or?
It usually happens immediately.
Okay.
She didn't suggest adding a time frame on there. I would imagine that would.
And then how is that done? Is it electronically? Is it also paper copy? Is how are we ensuring that that notification is making it to the parents?
So they are paper copies that families receive.
Okay,
So is this every child that comes into the district, just out of curiosity, or every child that they think they may need special education? So like if I come into the district and I come in as a new parent and I have a child that's 10 years old, hypothetically, am I given this information just to say that if you require any services, here's the services? Is it every child that comes in, every new child comes
At
in?
registration. Yes.
And if they're already within the district, then what happens? If along the way is, I guess maybe a teacher would pick it up, or a social worker or a guidance counselor, they put out these services or something like that, and then the parents notified. Maybe I go too deep.
So that is one of the ways
Okay.
that students are identified is by a staff member. So
Okay.
we do an IST meeting,
Okay.
determine what the interventions are, how students are responding, and then there could be a CSE that follows.
Okay. All right, I'm sorry, keep going.
And then the last one was just whether we wanted to add, the board will consider whether to commence due process proceedings as opposed to will. So because this is discretionary, again, will is very absolute, so she's suggesting we add and consider whether it's.
I agree. Page 4. Anything?
Just the addition of to ensure parent communication that there may be other steps that we would need to take. So we would do everything to ensure that parents know about the meeting and can participate.
Can I just say something? Maybe she should be parent or guardian. Because it may not always be a parent, it could be a guardian.
We want to specify legal guardian.
Or maybe whatever, yeah.
Yeah, different
yeah.
types of guardians,
Legal guardian, yeah. I think wherever we have parent, we should just put in a legal guardian. Ensure it's parent and or legal guardian or legal guardian.
So on the top of page 2, it talks about
I think anywhere where it says parent, I think it should be parent or legal guardian.
The bottom of page 1. The word parent means a birth or adopted parent and legally appointed guardian, generally authorized to act as the child's parent or authorized to make educational decisions for the child.
where was that?
The bottom of page 1.
Okay.
Right
That's
under that
it.
line,
That's
yeah.
it. Okay. Okay, never mind.
I don't think it's a footnote.
It's not a
It's just
footnote.
part of the, it's just part of the language.
Yeah.
with the track changes, it kind of looks like
Yeah.
kind of this.
Okay, never mind. Thank you.
Okay.
Good eyes.
Okay, that's good.
Page 5.
The last recommendation is just adding information about transition service and options for diploma or credentials. So adding all of those sentences that are there, explaining what happens as students begin to transition.
Any questions, any comments on these?
Not at this time. I feel like I want to read it from front to back, so but we'll be able to put this for a first reading. Oh, yes.
Yes. All right, if there's no questions, we'll go to boost please. Go as a first reading. No, please.
No, it is.
So it's gonna go as a first reading. Yeah, for December. 12/10. Now up to 12/22, relationship with booster organizations. Okay. All right.
So there's one of these. No, it is, but. I don't know that I need to.
No, that's the only one I have here, it's just this, we're gonna do the search for this.
So, Anne Marie, I think you did some work and reached out to NISBA to,
On this one?
to get policies that were similar. And I think the only ones we had were the gifts from the public.
And school volunteers, 4352 school volunteers, okay. I think there was a,
What is 5655?
This is like, that thing that she was saying.
but was there another policy related to relationship with booster organizations that NIMBA already had? We think,
Or just,
They didn't have anything on the number,
12/22.
oh, they don't have 12/22.
but sometimes the numbers don't completely match up.
So you Googling it?
Well, I'm still looking at it.
You found it. You found it in the Johnson users. I think the biggest thing is not, it's not the right way to start out. I would love to recommend changes, but I don't know what to recommend. I don't have any guidance on recommendation. I think the only thing that I would recommend,
It does list guidelines in 1 through 6.
I think number 2, submit an activity schedule in advance to the superintendent of schools or designee for prior approval. I think for that one, I think that it should be submitted activity schedule in advance to the superintendent of schools or his or her designee. Because it, to me, as you read it, if I wanna do a booster club, I could decide that I wanna, instead of going to the superintendent, I would like to go to the director of music, for example, and have them help me, because I wanna do something related to a music booster club. So I think the superintendent of school should be aware. So if the superintendent of school is not doing it, then I think they should designate someone. So that way the superintendent of school is aware, so I'm not too sure we want to say superintendent of schools and or their designee.
Or his
or her designee.
So you're saying you want it to come to the superintendent before it goes to the athletics director.
Or it, right,
Or whomever.
right, exactly, so that way at
So-
least the superintendent is aware, so if,
Right.
because
So-
if there's something that's taking place. Then at least the superintendent is aware that
Right.
this is what's gonna be taking place versus
Finding out
finding out.
after it's been approved.
Exactly,
So it's superintendent of schools
or his,
and the designee.
or should it
Make
be
sure they know.
superintendent of school or his or her designee, because it has, how do we make it worded that,
Submit an activity schedule in advance.
do we wanna say how far in advance?
Yes. Yes.
Well, so that, as much as I want it to be that way, sometimes it doesn't always transpire where you get enough time to really follow a deadline, because like certain events might happen, like you need to raise money for playoffs or something, like food for the team for playoffs that you didn't know they were gonna be in it a month ago.
Okay. Sure, that makes sense.
So,
But I mean, I feel like if you're supporting a particular sports group.
Yeah.
That maybe could just be identified as a potential, like if you're submitting
Yeah.
an activity plan, you can say, well, geez, and if you don't make it, then.
Yeah. No, like I'm in favor of a
Yeah.
deadline, of a timeline. I just trying to think of something that might be a roadblock down the line.
I know, I understand. But I feel like if somebody was really being proactive, they would be able to foresee.
Yeah.
That potential and at least identify it. And if it doesn't come to fruition, it doesn't come to fruition, right?
yeah, so do we wanna say submit an activity schedule within 5 business days of the event?
Well, I feel like
Mm-mm.
14 days,
Mm.
is it 14 days?
Okay, so,
or A month?
so we can just go back to the very top. So. So it says, the Board of Ed recognizes that extracurricular support groups or booster organizations provide important support and can be a valuable means of stimulating community interest. And they're defined in two ways. It goes on to say that they foster community support, raise funds, and is created to foster community support. Well, and raise funds for either a general extracurricular or a specific, right? So at what point do we say, if you want to partner with the school district with your booster club, that a meeting should be held with the superintendent's office to talk about your goals, what you want to accomplish? And then at that point, does the superintendent say, if you submit an activity schedule and do all of these things, then yes, we'll partner with you? Or does the superintendent bring this back to the board and say, I've met with ABC Booster Club, they would like to have a specific extracurricular activity only for the chorus, right? And here's a list of their plans of what they would like to do. Would we like to further discuss this? And then I'll get back to the booster club. Because it kind of gets into, here are your guidelines with an assumption like you can begin to operate if you meet these guidelines.
I think,
Sounds like a regulation, right? If we wanna define, I'm sorry,
no,
like the timeline and the expectations as far as like, what are you gonna submit and when are you gonna submit it? Type of thing.
So can I make a suggestion?
Well, it does say something on the start page.
Can I make a suggestion? Maybe
Yeah.
what we can, maybe Dr. Talbot, the suggestions that you're providing, maybe if you can flush it out and send it to us,
Mhm.
and then that way we could take a look at it. Because I think it's something, and then from that point, if we need to do a regulation, you know, that regulation can be worked on.
This may lead us to our answer. Booster proposed plans, projects, and other activities must be evaluated and promoted in light of their stated contribution to the academic as well as the extracurricular school programs. Careful consideration should be given to the total value of the contribution of all students, to all students, and not just specific student group. Okay, so we can kind of, yeah, Linda.
So just very quickly, I did a fast search of other school districts in New York State that might have a booster. And the policies of the two that came up were Valley Central School District, policy 1210, and Monroe Woodbury School District, policy 3260. The language in those policies is, if not word for word identical to what's here,
Yeah.
very close to it, except that Valley Central School District has a number 5 between our number 4 and number 6, 4 and 5. Their number 5 reads, booster clubs are independent organizations and need to be run and operated separate from district employees, including the coach or leader of student organizations. So it had one interesting variation from the other boilerplate that I thought was worth looking at.
That seems so critical. It's a separate entity.
It is.
It is.
independent.
Separate
And it's
entity.
completely independent.
Yeah, it is.
And why, it doesn't make sense to me that the donation should come through the district if it's a separate entity.
What do you mean by donation comes to the district?
Like if they're raising money for a particular. So it's completely separate entity, so then we're gonna accept the funds as a donation, delineating where it's going to and for what purpose.
Because, so the bottom sentence,
Yeah.
the superintendent must identify the district's terms and conditions of accepting such gifts and
Okay,
seek the board's official approval before accepting or publicly announcing any contribution. And that comes from policy 1800.
because the school district or the group can't accept the money on the side. It has to come and funnel through the districts.
Because any contributions made
Yeah.
to a district must come through the lawful governing body of that district, which would be the Board of Ed. So we have to say yes or no, we want to accept them.
So we definitely need more here as far as timeline and probably a regulation.
I think we definitely know.
I think we need a little bit more, I think it is, and I like that, because if there is, let's say, for example, let's just say I decide that I wanna do a booster club for track and field, right? But what happens if the coach doesn't want anything to do with me in terms of the booster club for the track and field? You know what I'm saying? So therefore, it puts the coach, or whether it's the director of music or anyone else out of the field, because maybe they don't want to become involved. Maybe the way that I'm doing it, they're not really supportive of it. I'm just using for as an example. So I think that it allows that coach to make a decision whether or not he or she wants to be part of the process.
I don't know that, I'm
So-
not reading into that though, Lisa.
No, I'm
because-
saying, I'm talking about what Dr. Landau had said. Was it, read
Well,
that
it's
again?
not saying that they can like choose not to accept the donation, right? They're not,
No,
they're just
no,
saying
read
the
that
booster
again?
club is
I'll
separate
pick it up
entity,
again.
yeah.
And it's
Because you're kind of
independent
saying
and
that,
run
like,
separate.
No,
as though the athletic team is gonna decide whether or not to accept
no,
the
no,
donation.
no, that's what I'm saying.
Oh.
What I'm saying, I'll have Dr. Landau read it again.
I got it.
Go ahead.
Okay, you got it.
Booster clubs are independent organizations and need to be run and operated
That's it.
separate from district employees, including the coach or leader of the student organization.
So,
Right, that's what I'm,
Yeah.
so by giving that example, if I was the coach, I'm separated from it. I don't want anything to do with it.
Sure.
Okay, that's what I was saying.
But does that just mean them running it? It doesn't mean that the coach can't like participate in it, support it, right?
I think these things,
I think you probably should
Organizations
support it.
need to be run and
but they don't have, my
If
point
they
is that,
choose to.
right, that's
Yeah.
right.
they handle their own monies, they have their own account, they have their own bylaws, they have their own not-for-profit number with the state, if that's how they're operating. I guess, and my question is bigger, so we have 5 organizations out there who want to be booster clubs for the district, hypothetically. Great, right? 5 who wanna be booster clubs, do we just? I guess, they run according to their own bylaws, of course. But I would think that we meet with each one and say, if you would like to have a relationship with the district, here are our guidelines. Here's how we accept the gifts. As I've done with the ones who've approached me, I've gone over policy 1800, I've gone over policy 1222. And there was also one about gifts to students or something that we reviewed as well. But then as the superintendent, do I just say, okay, great, come on board and govern yourself accordingly? And
There's some language, as one looks a little farther, there's some language that talks about booster clubs having to register with the school district.
That's
that's what I'm getting to.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
right,
getting to.
right, and I think
Like
that
the
when
district at
yeah.
large has to have some acceptance, right?
This in the Valley Central example, you're saying?
This is just an AI overview. Hang on, and Valley Central's policy 1210 requires booster clubs to be voluntary, register annually.
Okay, yeah.
I think
Yeah,
that, I think this needs to be
that's what
looked into a little bit
Thank you,
more.
Andrew, yeah.
To merge.
Yes.
part of
And there is a section of, again, I'm just finding this now as I'm looking with you.
Yeah,
There's a section of New York State education regulations that speaks about booster club management. Including things like following the rules that apply to and registering as nonprofit entities with documents that must be public
yeah.
and et cetera. So
Yeah,
there's
I
some.
think, yeah,
So we should reference all of that
Yeah.
as requirements.
yeah, I think it just needs to be flushed out more than what we can do. Let's bring you back in January. But maybe we can get some information, obviously. I know it may be tight, but sometime in December, at least get the information, we can take a look at it as a policy committee, we're not gonna meet, but at least kind of take a look at it, even
Mhm.
provide some feedback, so when we come back together and
So do you wanna a volunteer to like edit this with the Valley Central?
And then maybe.
With track changes or?
Yeah, maybe,
Yeah.
we'll,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so this would be track change for our discussion.
Yeah.
And then you wanna just kind of send it by email, so we can
Yes.
maybe get it on the
Yes.
December?
Oh, well, I'm not too sure we can get it in December, but we can try for December, you know,
Is
maybe,
there 2 meetings in December? I know you mentioned the 10th.
no, one,
So it's
only one.
just December 10th?
yes,
Okay, yeah, that's a little time.
yeah. Right, so I'd rather,
Open to it.
let's see what happens if possible, if not, then we'll put it on for, our January meeting. Our January board meeting, but not the policy meeting, but a January board meeting. But let's get the track changes in, get it back to us, we can look at it as a policy committee, provide feedback and keep.
But then, okay, but January 26th is late, so you.
No, we have a board meeting before then. Don't we? Yes. we do,
Yes.
Yeah,
21st.
yes.
21st. Yeah.
Mm,
It's kinda late,
board
too.
meeting.
I just looked them up to make sure I have them all on my
We have,
calendar. That's
one
fine.
on the 10th, it's only one in January.
Only one in January.
Oh,
Maybe we
January.
can just try.
I think it's gonna be tight, they'll try. They'll try, and we'll see what
You
happens.
may go. Good one.
Okay.
You ready? Okay, all right, so now we're up to public comments at board meeting. This is something that was requested to check on.
Oh. Yeah, you don't want it from me.
No, I'm just saying,
Oh.
this was requested. So the current policy that we have in place does come from NISBA. I think we use exactly the same language, I think we maybe just inserted on different times. Yeah, there's recommended language that they speak about, so we can take a look at it. There's an exhibit that talks about what the board president can actually state prior to the meeting. Which is exhibit 1230. And actually, this honestly, this policy was adopted back and similar to this back in 2015. And it was slight revisions that was done in 2022. So originally, the whole thing with public comments at the board meeting was updated. I'm not too sure if they had the card or not, but I know it was definitely updated back in 2015. And then we just updated it. And one of the things that was changed, the district clerk, we just put the district clerk, just recently, the district clerk emailed the delay one in there, so therefore the district clerk changes, it's still going to the district clerk.
No, but comparing, why, I'm listening, I'm just trying to compare and see the difference.
And I think I know that, and we've opened up meetings that there are times, like, for example, even for the second, 32nd for non-agenda items, that if we needed to extend the time, we have extended the time for people to speak. So that portion we have done.
So are you suggesting, because the NISBA template has more, right? So are we suggesting that we want to start with the NISBA? Because there's more in it. Right?
So,
I didn't get this ahead of time, sorry.
yeah, none of us did,
I
so,
waited.
yeah, well, none of us did, because it was requested, I think you requested to have it on the meeting for tonight, so.
Why?
No,
So I didn't,
I'm
I
not-
requested to talk about the card.
Oh, okay, so, go ahead. I'm sorry.
The public comment card.
Mhm.
So I didn't necessarily think we were gonna edit the policy.
Oh,
I
okay.
guess we could. So the card, the public comment card, which is, where is it referenced to on ours? Cause I'm trying to look at both at the same time.
Submitting a question.
Here, on the second page, persons wishing to address the board will advise the district clerk within a reasonable time prior to the start of the public comment period of the meeting. The request will be made in writing on a form provided by the district. To maintain a first come, first served process, the district will request the name of the speaker. For purpose of following up with the speakers later, the district may request the speaker's preferred contact information such as home address, telephone number, or email to speak with them in person. To limit comments to matters which may be properly discussed in public session, the board will request a brief description of the topic to be addressed. Any group or organization wishing to address the board must identify a single spokesperson. The board president may limit the number of repetitive comments to keep within the time limit for public comment here. So that's where that.
Okay.
So really, oh, sorry. This makes it sound like we're supposed to have the questions ahead of time and then we're supposed to call the people up after we've had the question.
So to answer your question. That's what,
Yeah.
For some boards to do this, yes, they actually,
Yeah.
they get all the questions ahead of time. It comes to the board president. And then sometimes I know other boards actually pass it around, and from that point, they make a decision. Which questions, and usually what happens, it's recommended either you answer all the questions or you say that we have your questions. And if you want to come to the mic to speak your question, you can come to the mic and speak your question. Other boards will say, thank you so much for all the questions that you have. The responses will be provided to the persons who submitted the question. So there are boards who do it slightly different. So what we do, what I think what it's saying here, request will be made on writing on a form by the district to maintain first come, first served process. This will request the name of the speaker. So we're allowing the speaker to come to the mic, but like, for example, if you have something, and we've had it in the past where it's not really something that can be spoken at a board meeting, what district will say, thank you, Mr. Neal, we see that you have a question. We will speak to you after the meeting because this is something that can be spoken about here at the session.
So, yeah, but that's not how we try to implement at the last meeting, right? So. Is that really what we wanna do as a board?
Mm.
Or is it simply that we want to have the comment written down for the sake of being able to ensure that we're doing follow-up? That was my impression of why, Lisa, you asked for this to be implemented, whereas we hadn't been doing it. Was more for our ability to track the questions and making sure that we have the speaker's name, their contact information. If they wanted to follow up, they would give us the contact information. That was kind of my guess at why we decided to try to implement this now. And then my concern was that we as a board hadn't accepted the form. And should that have been a regulation or attached somehow to this policy? And or should it be available on the district website? So that there's an expectation of community members of, okay, the Board of Education is now going to follow this policy. So it's just making them aware that this is gonna be something that we're gonna now be implementing. And then I wasn't sure about that last statement there that is requiring that the speaker is signing off that they've read and understood the policy. So that feels like a stretch, and that's not stated here either.
So I think that what's important, that this policy has been in place since 2015. It was updated in 2022, and it has not been consistently adhered to. And
Right,
I think it's important. Some of the challenges that we have is people are not clear on their question. They go through a statement, and through the statement, there's a question that comes out. So we're not really certain what question what question are we really answering, and how can we follow up. So that's when my conversations with Emery, because it became very challenging to try to listen through to find out what was really the question. Sometimes I'm like, Dr. Tab, what'd you put down? I got this. And it may not be consistent, so we have to go back to the tape. So if someone has it written down, number one, it eliminates someone coming to the mic where that information cannot be spoken in public. And like I said, it's happened before.
Right.
If we wanna revise that the little part that they have to fill out, then that's fine, but people do need to put down their question. So therefore, we know what the question is and if it's gonna be relevant for public comment. So if we want.
So you're interested in reading the comment beforehand. And deciding whether or not you're gonna allow them to the podium.
If it's something that's not, that cannot be spoken about in public. So I'm not gonna
And
deny
is that-
someone, like for someone that wants to talk about the personnel, someone wants to say that.
I
You know,
understand.
Yeah, so
No,
that's what
no,
I'm trying to,
I
I'm not
understand.
gonna stop. If someone has a comment about something, that's fine, or a question about something, that's fine. But if it's a comment related that something that's not allowable in open session. Then I'm gonna say, like I said, Mr. Neary, thank you so much for that question, that what you're asking cannot be discussed in open. I'm requesting that you speak to Dr. Talbot after the meeting.
So like, say. The three of us had the same similarly worded question. Would that kind of just get lumped into one and say, all right, Ms. Messman. You want to speak on your question, Mr. Neary and Ms. Johnson. It seems similar to this. Ms. Messman's question came in first, she can go up and speak.
I can say that I received the same question from 3 different members of the committee. This is a question. Which one of you would like to come up? You know, I did receive Ms. Besson's question first, but if someone else wants to come up
But
to
you
present the
do
question.
this, like, so you're now, when are we doing this? When are we reviewing questions?
It would happen just before the start of the open.
It's only going to you then as the president? To make the
The only,
decision?
no, the only ones that I'm not going to do are the ones that are not that not permissible for public comments. That's it. I'm not gonna deny someone else's question. You know what I'm saying?
And we're gonna, so that NISBA outline talks about like a numbering system, like, so it's first come, first served.
So while we're in executive, the public can hand their cards in to the district clerk and then they could be numbered by the district clerk.
Yeah, well, I'm assuming we're gonna ask the district clerk to help with this, so that it doesn't interrupt the flow of
The meeting.
the meeting, because
Right.
otherwise then we're gonna sit there and
Yeah.
shuffle through cards.
And I think what will be important too is that we can place it online and just say that if you have any questions, feel free to fill out prior to coming in. If you're not able to come in, if you want to submit your question online, please submit your question online. Then go from there, so we can do that.
But we're not, but online, you mean like ahead of time, like submit a form through the website, that's gonna come where, to the entire,
To the district clerk.
to the district clerk?
Cause it used to be at times in the past that people would actually email a question during the board meeting.
I was just wondering that, cause we have people on Zoom, so we're not, are we?
I think we're ready, we're not ready for that.
Yeah, it'll be more.
I think it's something that we should
Yeah.
do in the future, but
Yeah.
we're not ready for that.
So I think.
So do we include this in the announcements? The meeting announcements, include the form?
No, I think,
Well, I think we probably need to revise the policy and include the form
I think it's just a matter of including the form, if we wanna just,
and accept it as a board, I guess. Was the form reviewed by legal?
I think, was it reviewed by legal? I think it was. I think that the form is similar to what we used in the past before. I think the only thing that maybe, I think in the past, if I remember correctly, I think we also asked them to acknowledge that they had reviewed and were aware of the policy. So, I think it, to me, I think it's okay to make sure that someone. If we can send it to legal again, but I think it's just making sure that they are aware of what the policy is, and I think that's gonna be most important, that if someone comes. And once again, like, there's this exhibit,
Okay.
which I can, yeah, which the board president can read, and at a time later, we're about to convene the public comment period, that having said, please note the board is here to listen, the. Comment period is not designed to be a discussion, accordingly, please do not expect the board to respond to your concerns or questions tonight. So some boards read exactly what's here, you know what I mean, so. So if we wanna add the exhibit, we can,
Yeah, we would need to adapt this.
right, no, we don't have this as part of the policy.
Okay, and we need that form reviewed by legal, and wouldn't that sort of like the facility use policy, isn't that form attached to the
Well,
facility?
it's a
use?
regulation.
It's attached to the regulation.
It could
Yeah,
be
so
attached,
why would we not?
it could be
put that
attached to the exhibit, it could be attached to the policy.
Okay. So we have some work to do with this, and then are we,
I think the only thing is that, cause it always says the request were made in writing on a form provided by the district. So if there's anything, I think the form still could be used. And if we want to hear back from legal. Again, if you need more room, right on back, and it says if we wanna, I ask again about, I read the policy 12:30 and comments, I can't see. But if we wanna just ask double check, can we leave this in or can we take it out? If
a
it's something,
legal review, yeah,
yeah, we can have them do
Why
it
would
again,
they-
and I think if,
but we don't know if it was actually done.
so, we'll do it again. But I think the key is this here, if there's any question or concern, I believe it was done, that's what I'm just saying.
Okay.
If there's any question or concern, I still think we still need to have. The first portion up here, which is the name, the address, the email, what is your topic? And what is your question for the board? And if you need more room, leave that there. In the bottom half, if we wanna take that off right now until we hear back from legal again, I read the policy. And agree to abide by it in signature, then we can leave it off, but at least we still have that comment part that people can write their questions and submit it in, because that's already part of our policy.
Alright, so the part where it says there is 1 3-minute time limit for each speaker, is that for each comment? Time, like they can speak once at the first time period and then again at the at the second time period?
I mean, for the 15-minute.
Yeah,
or
for the
just-
15-minute and then for the non-agenda later on.
Yeah, they're entitled to speak for both. So for example, is that, because as
Cause this makes it sound like they can only speak once.
there's 1 3-minute time limit for each speaker.
So like if they speak at the agenda item section, then they.
Yeah, I don't think we have that. So let's look at that portion again. If my point is this, if we're concerned, if we need to clarify that, I don't mind taking that out. I know we have the speakers may not give unused time to other speakers. I think that's definitely in a policy. But I think at least for right now, we need to have the name, the date, the address, and what the question is. At least that can be at the next meeting. And if we need to hear back from legal, or we hear back from legal in time, then we can still leave it as is, or take that one or the other.
And does that 3-minute time limit? Does that get reset? They go back online and they have another 3 minutes?
As of right now.
Right here.
Wait, which paragraph is it?
No, I'm looking at the card.
Oh.
Look at
It's a
Look
presentation.
at the 3 minutes. Now we pretty much.
Presentation should be brief as possible. And those people who are permitted to speak for longer than 3 minutes. Speakers may not give unused time to other speakers. Speakers may comment matters related to the agenda items specifically or district matters, generally depending on stuff. So I think for right now, if anything, we can definitely leave, because it says in the policy. Provide their name,
Yeah. their
the
contact
question, right, and
information.
contact information in the question. So the other items
Stuff.
we'll send back to legal just to make sure that. If it can stay or cannot stay, and if they say, yes, it can stay, then the board has to decide if we want to keep it on there. If they say, as I think about it, we want to change this a little bit and let's, we want to do something. So they can say that it's okay to keep it, or we can turn around and say, we want it to come off.
Okay, but we haven't like adopted the card then, so.
But the court, here,
This is in already.
it's within already, they have to, on a
But
form,
it's
they
not, it's like referenced.
it says within a reasonable time period, the state of public period, the meeting requests were made in writing on a form provided by the district, that's already there. So, that's already there, that requests were made in writing on a form provided by the district. Right, the purpose of following up with speakers later, the district may request the speakers prefer contact information such as home address, telephone number, or email address to speak with the person, so that's already in the policy.
Okay, but we have not been following the policy for. 4 years.
Well, that doesn't mean we
Because
shouldn't.
we shouldn't, and
I
that's,
know, but
to
we
me,
should probably, as a board, adopt the policy
if, it's,
with the form, with the exhibit.
and
like do it
the
like
exhibit,
the correct way.
the exhibit we've never used. So we
Well,
want
the
to,
exhibit,
if we want to use the exhibit, we can add the exhibit in. If we wanna, the last time we adopted policy in 2022, we had a card. And I think part of the challenge, we couldn't find the card for this time around, but we did have an actual card, because I was part of that process the last time. And I think what's important, one of the things that was circling back, I'm doing at a time where it's not, that there's nothing that's really, it's a time where there's not a lot of things that's going on. So what my concern was that when we were going to try to implement it again, there was a lot of things that was happening. So once again, so to summarize, we will if we want to have the board look at this policy again, that's fine to readopt it. 2, we'll send this back to legal again, the card,
yes,
and make sure that it's okay. And then 3, we'll ask the board if they want to adopt the exhibit and taking out the gray here. So we'll ask the board to relook at this policy, to approve or this policy. We'll ask legal to look at the card to make sure that we're in compliance or we have to take something off. And we'll ask the board about utilizing exhibit 1230. Is everyone
okay, so
okay with-
that's all gonna happen in January too, then.
No, I'm gonna still continue with the policy because it's already in
Well, I would
existence.
say the card review by legal
Right.
is urgent.
Yes.
But
The
if we were
exhibit-
gonna do anything with the policy, we would talk about it again in January.
If we want to make any changes up
Yeah.
until that point, I'm gonna adhere to the current policy.
Okay.
Alrighty, and our next meeting is in,
Oh, I'm sorry, I had two, I'm sorry.
so if you
I
have
emailed
something,
you this morning.
yeah, but if you have something, let's email it to us and let's do it for the next meeting, because we have not had time to review that particular policy that you want to bring forward. So for January, I think it was like 1,300.
So it's 1310,
So for the next meeting in January, it'd be 1,310.
staff participation in political activities. I did email it,
Yeah, we got it this morning.
and then, sorry, hold on, there was another one. I'm missing one twice, lines. Another NISBA sample policy, which I honestly, I didn't have my binder at home,
Which number is it?
so I'm not sure if we have some version of this, but it's sample policy 2230 for appointed board officials.
Was that 2230?
Yeah.
Yes, we did. That
So,
was adopted 2013.
okay, so I'd like
Okay.
to revisit that.
So open it up, just kind of see if it was reviewed. Right, so. Alright, so we'll put those two.
I sent 1310 to the board this morning because it came up in a different board discussion. And then 2230, I don't believe I emailed today, that kind of came up
Okay.
before I came here as a policy to bring to the policy committee, asking that we revisit it.
Alright, so we'll look at, so January will be 1310, 2230. We have an opportunity to review those particular policies. Prior, and then we can do it for discussion. And then, Dr. Talbot, if, or anyone, if you have any suggested changes. Maybe what we can do the, same thing, put it up as a, what's that thing? Tracking,
The track changes?
yes, so maybe put it that way, we can take a look at it ahead of time, so when we come in, people see the track changes, and we can say. Accept, not accept, or what, so that with.
Yeah. Streamline.
Yes. All right, if anyone has any additional policies that they want to consider, please, let's make sure that we get it, at least in early January at the latest, so that way we all can have idea of what policies we're gonna review, and then, go from there.
I thought we talked about at the beginning of the year, like just kind of walking through.
Well, that's what I want to
in
do.
theory.
I would rather
But
honestly,
What's the curriculum series? So I'm interested in tackling that.
honestly, I wanted to start with 000 because it's pretty easy.
Right.
And 01000, those are two straightforward policy series.
So we ended up in 6,000?
Yeah, because we're all over the place.
That was requested.
That was requested, that's why. So my request is to go to start with 000 and 1000,
It did a bunch of the zeros with the goals and.
but we didn't do everything. So, I'll email my suggestions.
So we can collaborate on splitting it up, January, February, March.
Depending on like in like 000 and 1000, honestly, those are two that we should probably be able to knock out in January.
4,000 is instructed.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna close it out here and it is 7:38.
Sounds
Thank you for
good.
joining us.
Thank you.
So we'll meet again on January 26th.
Right.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Continue along. Yes.